Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. So, guys, there seems to be some real beef. Some real beef between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. Obviously, they both looks like they're going to fight in September. And there's some juicy beef being developed up between these two guys. Some spicy, juicy, whatever beef, whatever you want to say. But yeah, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin don't seem to like each other now. It stems from, a lot. We know, Gennady Golovkin feels he beat Canelo both times. Also, Canelo Alvarez failed a drugs test, which Gennady has he feels a certain way about that. Canelo thinks that Gennady talks a load of crap. And Canelo says he wants to knock Gennady Golovkin out. Says he talks shizzle. He says he talks shizzle. So yeah, Canelo Alvarez wants to do a job. Now, Canelo Alvarez is a pretty laid back character. I have started to find him more entertaining since he started to speak English. I feel like his English is improved, and don't get me wrong, but sometimes when it's not your first language, many guys that it's not their first language can sound kind of arrogant or sounded like he sounds quite ruthless when he's speaking English, he sounds like it's not that, it's the fact that it's not his first language. So it can, sometimes where these guys are speaking English and it's not their first language, they can come across quite arrogant and quite ruthless. Like there's many other sportsmen that are like that. Canelo's obviously he's still learning the language. But I just love Canelo Alvarez's English, the way how he comes across so ruthless and like, yeah, payday. I know that. You want payday. Canelo's just brilliant. And then he says, and then when he uses the curse words and stuff, I just love it. I love it the way he comes across. He's like, this guy talks so much shit, man. He talks so much shit. He's brilliant, man. Canelo's brilliant when he's speaking English. I love it. He's like, he talks so much shit, man. Canelo's funny, man. Canelo's really funny when he's. I like it. I feel like it's added a different side to him. It's added a funny side to him, and I think he may not trying to be funny, but it comes across funny to us because it's the way he's saying it. I remember when he went at Andre, that was brilliant. That was really funny. And I actually think he's not trying to be funny. He's just trying to speak it, but to us it comes across funny. But I just feel like it's added another side to him. It's added another personality, and I feel like Canelo was a big star anyway. But in terms of, I think it's added to his marketability. I think he's more sellable now. And under Eddie Hearn, he's also said that, he likes, in an interview, that he likes working with Eddie Hearn. And he's one of the reasons why he took the deal. Now, I want to also point this out, that Rick Glazer, somebody that, I believe was involved with, I think he still might be, with Top Rank. He said the reason why Canelo Alvarez took the Eddie Hearn deal is because Eddie actually offered him more money. This is what he said. Now, I don't know if that's true. I'm just going off what Rick Glazer said. Rick Glazer said that, apparently Eddie Hearn offered him 10 million more for each fight. Now, we heard that, he was offered $85 million for those two. If that's the case, then you can understand why he's gone with this deal as well. It's financially, maybe he finds it more of a competitive, it gets his juices flowing because he thinks Bivol and Golovkin are tougher fights than Benavidez and Charlo. Who knows? But if that is true as well, that Eddie Hearn did offer 10 million more for each fight, then you can understand why he's, gone down that route and taken on the fight. But, the Canelo Golovkin fight is actually going to be massive. And what I mean by that is that if Canelo does get past Bivol, I think that's going to be a fight which is going to get a lot of views, it's going to be talked about because both Canelo and Golovkin are huge names in the sport. And I actually think it's still the biggest fight out there. I think when it gets close to fight time, I think or like a couple of months out, or one month out, 2-3 weeks out, I think the fight's going to be so big. It's going to be so big and so talked about. So hence why I really like the fight. I like the fight in the sense that although I think I favor Canelo, I feel like it's just one of those fights which is going to always live up. Here's what I want to say though. Abel Sanchez feels that he thinks Golovkin won both the fights. Now, I don't really, I don't listen. At the end of the day, the both fights were pretty close, and everyone's got their opinion of who they think won the fights. I personally think Golovkin won the first one. I thought Canelo won the second one. Abel probably thinks they won both. But Abe, you know what? I'm intrigued because everybody seems to think that Canelo Alvarez is going to batter Golovkin in this third fight, and Canelo's improved and Gennady's on the slide. And Abel made some good points. Abel said that I don't think it's more so that Gennady's old and past it. It's more so the way Gennady's trying to box. Gennady's trying to be more of a boxer rather than being that ruthless monster that Gennady is, where he walks people down and beats them up. And that's basically Gennady Golovkin. And he said in the last couple of fights, he's seen Gennady Golovkin try to emulate more of a boxing style. And he goes, that's not really Golovkin. If Golovkin does that, he's probably not going to have as much success as he did when, he was walking people down and he's beating them up and, battering them basically from pillar to post. And I think Abel's right. I think Gennady Golovkin needs to get back to the old Gennady Golovkin and shouldn't try to box. He needs to, and he goes, Jonathan Banks is a great trainer. He goes, it's not Jonathan Banks. He goes, it's something that probably Gennady Golovkin is trying to do. Now, is Abel saying that from his own personal experience? Is he saying that from his own personal experience? From working with Gennady Golovkin? Maybe he feels that Gennady Golovkin was trying to box more. Why is that? Is that because Gennady Golovkin doesn't want to take the shots that he was taking? Because Gennady Golovkin has a great chin, and let's be honest, Gennady Golovkin used to take a lot of shots. Maybe as he's getting older, he doesn't want to take those shots, and he feels that maybe he can get hurt more. So by him being more ruthless and coming forward and being that pressure fighter, he's having to absorb a lot of shots. And maybe at this stage in his career, he doesn't want to absorb the shots, or maybe he feels he's more vulnerable at this point, so he's trying to box more. I don't know exactly why the change in style. Only Gennady Golovkin knows why he's looking to change his style. But I do think if he tries to do that against Canelo Alvarez, he's going to come up short. And he's going to come up short. I think Gennady Golovkin needs to box the way he did the first and second fight. Or especially the first fight. He needs to look to back Canelo up, push him on the back foot, use his power. That's what I feel like Golovkin needs to do in order to be successful against Canelo Alvarez. I think, listen, I think it's going to be very interesting because a lot of people seem to think that Golovkin's older and he's slid off. But has Golovkin got Canelo's number? And what I mean by that is Golovkin's style a style which is always going to make it tough for Canelo? Maybe, like Marquez Pacquiao. It was always tough for Pacquiao. Even though people viewed Pacquiao as the better fighter, Marquez was just always tough. Pacquiao just always had trouble with him. And maybe Golovkin is what Marquez is to Pacquiao. Golovkin's style is always going to cause Canelo trouble. But again, I do agree with Abel Sanchez that Golovkin has to go back to the old Golovkin. There's no way that Golovkin, in my opinion, there's no way that Golovkin can box with Canelo. He has to go back to being that destroyer. He needs to go back to being that guy that pushes people back on the back foot. Because otherwise, against someone like Canelo, for me, is just going to be able to pick Golovkin off because Canelo's got a better defense. He's sharper out of the two. He's the faster guy. And I just think that he'll outbox Golovkin. Golovkin needs to push him on the back foot, make it a rough and tough and horrible fight. But again, this is the problem. Is Golovkin got that chin? Is he more vulnerable now? Is he more hittable? Not just more, he was always hittable. I mean, is he more susceptible to being hurt now, than what he was earlier on? Is he more vulnerable in that sense? Does he not want to absorb the punches that he used to absorb back in his day? Maybe he feels, like I said, more vulnerable. So this is the thing, that maybe Golovkin hasn't got the same kind of strength, the same kind of durability, the same kind of determination, hunger that he once had when he was younger. So these are all things that we have to take into consideration. I think it's more the fact that Gennady Golovkin is probably sees himself more as vulnerable now. That's why he's looking to box more. Otherwise, there's no reason to change his style so late on. It's got to be something with the fact that he thinks that that style that he used to do when he was younger, he can't sustain that anymore, and he feels more vulnerable against Derevyanchenko. Maybe he realized that I'm actually getting, I'm getting hurt here. And Canelo Alvarez hits very hard. So again, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see whether Golovkin, how he approaches the Canelo fight. Is he going to box the way he boxed normally, or is he gonna look to box? I think if he does look to box, I think it's going to be a lot easier night for Canelo Alvarez. If he chooses to make it a rough, tough, and become a pressure fighter, I think Canelo's going to have issues with him. But the only problem is by doing that, he's going to leave himself open to being hit as well. And like I said, at this stage, and how old Golovkin is, will Golovkin be able to absorb the punishment that he once could back in the day? See, these are all things that we have to look into, because Golovkin's not a spring chicken. He's getting older. Golovkin's 40 years of age. So that's going to be difficult for him to do what he did. And also his footwork, he's not going to be as fast. The way he used to cut off the ring, Golovkin used to be a master at cutting off the ring. He was so sharp, so quick. He would cut off all the angles, shut off all the exit doors, and you'd be stuck. And the kind of physical and mental pressure he'd put on you was second to none. And that's why a lot of fighters would get tired and get exhausted. Because Canelo Golovkin would just suffocate you with his pressure, and he'd put a lot of mental pressure on you as well, because you won't be able to get out. So I'm interested. I'm very, very interested to see how Golovkin gets on here with Canelo the third time. Is it going to be a situation Marquez Pacquiao, where Golovkin's always going to be a tough fight for Canelo, irrespective at what stage in their careers? Because Marquez was really old when he fought Pacquiao. But Marquez, listen, both guys were getting hurt in that fight. Marquez was also in trouble. So can Golovkin pull it out? The only problem is with these guys is both these guys have got granite chins. So it's going to be very difficult to see either of them knocking each other out. I think if I am going to lean towards a knockout, I think it's going to be Golovkin getting knocked out, because Golovkin has looked more vulnerable out of the two, whereas Canelo's chin is for me gone strength to strength. Canelo doesn't even look like you can hurt him, whereas Golovkin has shown a bit of vulnerability with the Derevyanchenko fight. He looks more vulnerable now than what he did once upon a time. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how Golovkin approaches this fight against Canelo. But leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.